Hello again, everybody. Welcome to another craptastic episode of the Marla Music Show. I am David. I hope everyone is doing very well out there today, no matter what you're doing and where you are. So here we go with the second part of my Kiss albums ranked. Last episode we did 11 through 20. Today we're going to do 1 through 10. So you guys ready? I am. Let's go.
He's Marler, and this is his music show.
Alright, so it is time. I know you've all been on pins and needles since that last video. I can just imagine you guys. The anticipation has been running through your veins. Here are my top 10 Kiss albums of all time. And so, to recap on the last one, we had at number 20, we had Sonic Boom. Number 19 was Hot in the Shade. Number 18 was Monster. 17 was The Elder. 16 was Unmasked. 15 was Dynasty. 14 was Asylum. 13 Carnival of Souls. 12 was Animalize. And 11 was Dressed to Kill. So now here we are at number 10. And number 10, and this may raise some eyebrows from some diehard Kiss fans. I don't know, because a lot of diehard Kiss fans do not like this album in the least and think it's a load of crap because of the way it was done, personnel on it, yada, yada, yada. I'm talking too much. We're just going to say it. It's Psycho Circus. Psycho Circus, for me, is a very good album. I get the whole idea and argument that, well, it's not the original Kiss. It's not the original Kiss. True enough, on the album, it's not all the original Kiss. You know, this was after the reunion tour. I highly anticipated it because, you know, I finally got to see the original four on the reunion tour and heard her doing an album, and I was just ecstatic, and the anticipation, and the title track comes out, and it's like, oh my God, it's great. I just love it. I love it. I love it. And I still do love the song Psycho Circus. But as we've learned over the years, this was not, pardon my dogs, apparently the wind is blowing. The personnel on here was not the original four very much. Ace and Peter had very little to do with it. So Bruce Kulick did a lot of writing on here, or playing on here, I believe, and I don't know drum wise who did besides Peter. Maybe it was Anton Fig again. I don't know. That'd be kind of ironic actually in a number of ways, but it is what it is. But this album came out, and I remember going and buying it, man, and I listened to it for weeks, just for weeks, and I really loved it. So let's look at some of the tracks here and see. Psycho Circus title track. I think it's a fantastic song. It's been in their set list for a while now. Not every tour they've done since this, but for quite a few. And it's just become one of those songs that they almost have to do, in my opinion. Within, I think Within is a very, very good Gene song. Very heavy and gritty and whatever. And there's a live version of this out there that's on. You can find it live in a lot of places. That has an extended guitar solo that I think is really, really good. Really like that song. My favorite song on this album is the next one, I Pledge Allegiance to the State of Rock and Roll. I love that song. They have very rarely done this live. I know they did it a couple times on the pre-tour to Rock the Nation when they were touring in Australia. They did this. And I think they've done it a few other times. I've never been fortunate to see them do this song. I would love that because it's just one of those awesome Paul rockers. And just, I love the storytelling of it. It's just it's a marvelous song, marvelous. Into the Void, Ace's contribution to the album, which he actually had another contribution to the album, didn't make it, it's called In Your Face, which is also a bonus track on a extended version of the album. But Into the Void is a pretty good song. Here again, Ace wrote a very good song for a Kiss album, on a Kiss album that is considered by a lot to be very subpar, but he had one of the brightest moments on it. The guy's a fantastic songwriter. I've seen some comments and some videos I've done before about Ace was not a good songwriter. I appreciate that opinion, but I have to totally disagree with you. I think Ace is a very good songwriter. We Are One. I love We Are One. I think I think if Kiss has ever written a song about the fans and for the fans, this is it. We Are One. It's just a way that you connect with the band and they connect with you on stage, and that the fans connect with each other. You know, I think it speaks to that, and plus it's a pretty damn good song on top of the message. You Wanted the Best is pretty cool because you got all four singing on it, and I don't think that's ever happened on a Kiss song before. It's a little bit cheesy, but it's a pretty cool message about the way that people felt about them and still do or whatever. And at one time it was one of my favorites on this album. Raise Your Glasses, I think, is a song that is, you know, about the success they had getting back together, the original four, and about how they were able to put their differences aside, at least for a little bit, and take care of business. Another good song. The One Skipper, the one that as soon as it comes on, nope, that I cannot stand, is I Finally Found My Way. Once again, it's Peter trying to write Beth all over again. And I know the way he felt about Beth and the way his ego was and the way his ego became again during the reunion. He was thinking, well, if this can be another big hit, oh, you know. Thank God it didn't. Thank God it didn't. Because I've never heard this song on the radio, and the only time I've ever listened to this song was strictly by choice. It comes on, gone, see ya. Not going to listen to it. Dreamin', I like that song. It's not one of the better ones, but it's a pretty good song by Paul, and it's rounded out with Journey of a Thousand Years, which I think it's a good song, and I like it's got the orchestration at the end that has the Psycho Circus tune in it, which I think is really cool. A little bit of a departure for a Gene song, but it's a good song that rounds out the album. And an album that I think is really solid, and for me, I've got it at number 10. All right, number 9. This is going back to the 80s version of Kiss, and that is Crazy Nights. This is another one that a lot of Kiss fans are not crazy about. Pardon the pun. The Kiss fans are not crazy about. For them, they say it sounds a little too poppy, a little too 80ish and whatever. But here again, Kiss was adapting to the times, and they were adapting their sound to what was popular. You know, the first song, Crazy Crazy Nights, you know, when it first came out, I loved it. It's still okay. It's not great. They've been doing it some on this last tour. I don't think it's the best song on the album at all. So it's one of those, I like it, but it's nothing great. I'll Fight Hell to Hold You, decent song. Not a great song, but it's pretty good. Bang Bang You is another one that is not just stellar. Let's put it that way. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Well, this is your number 9. You've kind of dissed the first 3 songs. From here, for me, this album gets a lot better. No, No, No. This song, I love the opening guitar in it, and I love the way it starts when it kicks in with Eric Carr's drums, and then Bruce continues that solo. It is so good, and I think this is one of the first times where you really started to hear Bruce becoming that guitar player that he ended up being. This song really showcased that, and I think it's one of the best on the album. Hell or High Water, I think, is a great song. I think it's one of the better Gene songs on here. My Way is a really good song. And one thing I like about My Way, along with a lot of songs on this album, it really showed off Paul's voice. At one time, not in recent years, but at one time, Paul had one of the best voices in rock and roll, bar none. There were very few that can compare with him at the time, and that song shows it off. When Your Walls Come Down is okay. It's got a little bit of a catchy, tongue-in-cheek kind of lyric and presentation to it. Reason to Live ballad. It's really good. I always liked that song. It was a staple of theirs on that tour for sure, and once again shows off Paul's vocal range very well. Good Girl Gone Bad is okay. Not the best Gene song. Another one of my favorite songs on this album is number 10. That's Turn on the Night. I love that song. I love Paul's voice in it. His vocal is fantastic. Bruce's guitar playing is fantastic. And it goes to show, I think, how they'd really started becoming cohesive, these four members of the band. Because this was only the second album with Bruce. And so you can see it starting to build and get better. And then the last song was Thief in the Night was pretty good. Thief in the Night reminded me of something probably that would have been on Animalize. It's got that kind of groove and feel to it a little bit. Not quite as heavy, but it's kind of got that same mood, so to speak. So that's it for Crazy Nights. And like I said, guys, got this at number 9. All right, number 8. Here again, going to preface this with this could be one that you could say, well, that's kind of low on the list, and you could be right. Number 9, the album that came out at their highest point probably, and that is Love Gun. Love Gun, very solid album. Maybe the best artwork of any album they've got. And a lot of good songs on here. I Stole Your Love. I've always loved that song. This version, the live version, I've seen them do it a couple times. It's a great rocker. Just a fantastic song. Christine 16, I'm not a huge fan of. They've done it quite a bit over the years. I've seen them do it a few times. It's one of those I can really take or leave when it comes on. You know, it's one of those I'm like, and I might skip it, whatever. Got Love for Sale. I like that song. It kind of sounds like a precursor to something that went on Gene's solo album, except a little bit better. Shock Me, Ace's vocal debut on a Kiss album. One of his best songs. It was a very good live song, and Tommy Thayer has done it several times over the years on tour, which got my opinions about that, whatever. But it's a really good song, and one that I think really showed that Ace can really write good material. After that, Tomorrow and Tonight. Not a huge fan of it. This is like a lot of Kiss songs though, but this is one that's definitely better on the live too than it is in the studio version. And then you've got the title track Love Gun, another one that speaks for itself. This is one that could be live, studio version. What awesome song, concert staple. I don't think I've ever seen them when they've not done this song. And now Paul flies out to the crowd during it. It's just become it really over the years has brought on a life of its own really. After that you've got Hooligan. It's an okay song. It's a Peter song. I'm not a huge fan of a lot of Peter songs, especially once you get past Dress to Kill. Really, I don't think he did. He had a couple good ones, but this one is not really up there for me. Almost Human, I love Almost Human. The opening of that song, Gene's voice, his presentation. I love the messy feel of this song, and it almost to me this song is almost like a precursor to Creatures of the Night. Like I could have seen this being on Creatures of the Night and fitting in with the rest of the songs. This song was like kind of a prelude to that era of the band. And then you got Plaster Caster. It's an okay song. It's not one that, once again, I'll listen to every time it comes on. We all know what that was about. And, whatever. And then She Kissed Me. I honestly have no opinion about this song. Really, it is what it is. It is a remake, and instead of then he kissed me, it's then she kissed me, and that's it, guys. On that one, that's all I got on that song. So there, that's it. That rounds out Love Gun, and I've got it on my list at number 8. All right, number 7 on my favorite Kiss albums list is their debut, Kiss. Once again, you're probably saying this might be a little low, and you might be right, especially when you look at all the songs that are on this album. Let's just go down the Strutter, Nothing to Lose, Firehouse, Cold Gin. 4 songs that they did every show for a very long time, the first several years they were around, and songs that they've done on a pretty fair regular basis, except for Strutter, over the past several years. You know, Nothing to Lose, not quite as much maybe. And then you got Let Me Know, which is one of the first songs I think they ever wrote together, Gene and Paul. I've always liked that song. I kind of like seeing it live. Kissin' Time was a remake, and in fact, it wasn't even on the original pressing of this album. It was on the second pressing. I've actually got a copy of the first pressing without this song that my brother gave me. He bought it, and then I kind of inherited it over the years. And then you got Deuce, you know, one of my favorite Kiss songs of all time, and my first memory of them is hearing the opening to Alive with this song, and it's great. It's just great. Love Theme from Kiss, instrumental that's okay. It gets a little bit dragging out, even for for a 2-minute 24-second song. It still drags out a little bit for me. 100,000 Years is fantastic. This version, not so much, but when you talk about the Alive version and the drum solo, and then Paul bantering with the fans and getting the fans into it, and he still does that. You know, most tours, that's been the drum solo, and you know them doing it now on the end of the road. You know, when I saw them, they did 100,000 Years drum solo. He does the whole thing with the crowd. It's awesome, and it's become a show staple for them. And I think it's one of the best live songs for sure that they've ever done. And then you've got Black Diamond, which you know is usually the song right before the encores. I think I've seen them a couple times where it's been their absolute last song. It speaks for itself. Peter on vocals, and Peter had great vocals on this song, and live he had great vocals. And Peter's a vocalist I thought very good. And this is one of the better songs on the album. It's one of the better songs that Kiss has. Period. So you know this might be a little low on the list. You know, I don't know, but as it is, it stands at number 7. Number 6 is the follow-up to this album, and that is Hotter Than Hell. Hotter Than Hell, in my mind, obviously because you're paying attention to my list, in my mind, it's the best of the first 3 albums. The live versions, once again, like pretty much everything that they put out in the first 3 albums, are better on live, or pretty much any version you've heard of them live. But here's why, for me, Hotter Than Hell is their best album of the first 3. You look at these songs, Got to Choose, a little bit different. It was kind of poppy feel. Parasite, heavy, bum 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 bum, in your face. Awesome song. Going Blind's kind of weird. Let's just be honest. The lyrics are kind of strange, but it's a good song. And Unplugged, it's a fantastic song. Hotter Than Hell, love that song. One of my favorite Kiss songs of all time. And it's one of the better live songs of all time. Let Me Go Rock and Roll, same thing. It's been in the set list for years and years and years, and they haven't been doing it in the past couple legs of the tour, which I think is a mistake because I think it's one of their all-time best live songs. But it speaks for itself. All the ways that these songs, Watching You, oh my gosh. It's like every version of this song gets better and better. This version was good. The live version was good. And then when they did it on the Live 3, and Bruce's take on the solo on that, Loved it. Love that song. Mainline, it's a Peter song that's kind of okay. Strange Ways, kind of the same. And I skipped Coming Home. Coming Home's a really good song. It's actually better than, I'm sorry, Coming Home's better unplugged acoustic than it is on the album. And that's, you've got a few songs on here that are like that. I saw him do All the Way unplugged. It's better than this. Coming Home is the same way. Going Blind is the same way. And these are all great songs the way they were. And that goes into what I'm saying about this, for me, being the better of the first three, is because they had so much. These songs were versatile, were very versatile. And the ones that were real heavy were heavy. And just boom, and boom, and boom. And that just makes it such an album that I think is really underrated among a lot of Kiss fans, because the first one had so many songs they'd still do in concert as opposed to this. But this album for me is fantastic, and I'm sticking with that one at number 6. And it might move up. It probably won't. It could move up over the years, but right now it's at a solid number 6. This is definitely the one I've not wavered on at all. Love this freaking album. Love it. All right, number 5 is Rock and Roll Over. Here again, this is the middle of their second 3 albums. That sounded horrible, didn't it? This is the middle album of 4, 5, and 6. All right, Hotter Than Hell was the middle of 1, 2, and 3. It's the middle of 4, 5, and 6. I think it's the best of those 3. I think now I'm going to contradict myself here in a minute, okay? But remember, I said when I was putting this list together, it's impact as well, okay? So I'll explain once I get through this. All right, I Want You, one of my favorite Kiss songs of all time. Live, it is freaking incredible. Awesome, awesome song. Take Me's a really good song. They haven't done it a lot over the years, but really good song. Calling Dr. Love is a great song. I honestly, though, have gotten tired of it. Except for the guitar solo. I've kind of gotten tired of that song. And it's one I wish that they would kind of substitute in the set list, because it's good, but I don't know. Ladies' Room has always, to me, been a decent song. Baby Driver. It's a Peter offering that I think is really good, to be honest with you. Love 'Em and Leave 'Em is a very interesting Gene song. Also, lyrically, probably could have been a precursor to one of his something on the solo album, maybe. It's a decent song. Mr. Speed, for some reason, I've always liked Mr. Speed. I don't know why. And then you get my favorite Gene song on this album is actually See You in Your Dreams. I love this version of it. He did a remake of it for a solo album, which wasn't quite as good. This version here, I think, is really, really good. Hard Luck Woman is a pretty good song. I think it was Peter, once again, although Paul wrote it. But I think they thought this might be another Beth situation, possibly, but it clearly wasn't. But a good song nonetheless. But I like Paul singing this better. I've heard him do it a few times, or once on the convention thing. And if you can find the extended version of Unplugged, there's a 2-disc version out there that's got the whole thing. This is on there with Paul singing it. It's really good, actually. And then Making Love, awesome song. Just a dun 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 dun. Really great groove, really great riff. I've seen it do it live a couple times, and they're actually doing it again on this leg of the tour. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to go, and the main reason I'm upset about that is because I'd love to see them do this song again. But not going to be able to go on this leg, which is fine. I've seen them 31 times, so it is what it is. So, yep, Rock and Roll Over at number 5. Now, here comes the contradiction in myself a little bit here. So I said that Rock and Roll Over I thought was the best of their second 3 albums. However, at number 4, I have Destroyer. And so, like I said, for me, I like Rock and Roll Over better, but Destroyer had more impact. Which again may cause a lot of people to say, well, that's too low for this album. Possibly. But the impact this album had, you know, right after they'd done a live with Rock and Roll All Night, they went in the studio, recorded this with Bob Ezrin, and ironically, they recorded this, The Elder, with Bob Ezrin, and another album I'm going to have coming up here in the list pretty soon, all with Bob Ezrin. But this album here, just, it hits so hard from beginning, from right at the beginning, man. It's just, the first three songs are just phenomenal. Detroit Rock City, you know, the opening with the talking, with Gene talking. The guy gets in the car and he, you know, and the song's about a guy going to see Kiss and getting in a car crash, or going to see a band and getting in a car crash, or whatever. And you know, that song is always just, they fixed their recording issues and mixing issues and sound issues with this album for sure. The production of this album was fantastic. Then it goes right into, you hear the car crash, King of the Nighttime World. One of the best 1-2 songs to open an album ever. Ever. Probably ever, but definitely one of the best. Maybe the best ever, definitely one of the best. It just, it rocks. And then you go into God of Thunder, you know, very spooky vibe, very Halloweenish kind of feel. I remember when I was first heard this, I was like 5 years old maybe. And just, it was like, oh, you know, that's scary kind of. And seeing Gene on the cover, it was weird to, but great song, been a staple for a long time. It is Gene's definitive song. This is his song. A lot of people may think of Gene and think of the first song that comes to mind is God of Thunder, and for great reasons. Great Expectations, and this is where for me this album it starts to get a little bit not a great one, not a great song in my you know. It's very different, man. It fit with the feel of the album for sure, but not a great album. A great song. Flaming Youth's a little bit better. In fact, I've actually seen them do this a couple times. They actually brought it out probably about 7 years ago for a couple of mini tours or whatever. I like it pretty well. Sweet Pain, not a fan. Just not a fan. Shout It Out Loud, one of those that speaks for itself. Concert staple over the years. Beth, their biggest song ever, one of my least favorite Kiss songs of all time. I'm just going to leave it at that, but it was what it was, and it speaks for itself. Then Do You Love Me? It's interesting. I like this song a lot. I love this version better than I like it live. One of the few Kiss songs I like the studio version better than the live version. And I think it's mainly because of the drum sound that's on this and the way it's produced. And they've been doing this on for the most, you know, the first leg of the End of the Road tour. They did this, and they took this out, put in Crazy Nights, and they put this back. I don't think it belongs. The reason I say that is they have not done this on a regular basis throughout their career live. They did it a little bit, I think, on this tour, and maybe a subsequent tour or two afterwards, and they shelved it for a long time. And I don't think they brought it back out until they got back together with Ace and Peter, and then they shelved it again. You know, I think, you know, they took this out and put in Crazy Nights. I think that would belong in there. And, you know, that's a whole nother, I'm probably going to do a video once this is all said and done about the set list on the End of the Road tour, what the ones they've done, and see what y'all think, and kind of give some maybe insertions I ought to put in or taken out or whatever. But anyway, I like this song. It's a good round out for the album, and an album that, let's just be honest, is very iconic. I've always said this album did not put Kiss on the map. The live version of Rock and Roll All Night and Alive put Kiss on the map. But this album kept them there, and it kept them there for a long time. And honestly, I think it's one of those albums that has such a great impact that it allowed them to kind of stay on the radar even in those doubtful years that followed. And so there's no doubt this album is one of the best of all time. And for me, I've got it at number 4. All right, coming down the stretch. Here we go. Number 3. Lick It Up. Yes, Lick It Up. Their first album without makeup. This thing has got such killer tunes on it. You know, at this time, Vinny was in the band. It was his second album with him. The first one where he was a full-fledged member from, the public's eye. And it just starts out Exciter and Not for the Innocent, hard-hitting, punching songs. And you've got Lick It Up, which for me is not one of the better songs on the album. It's one of the most popular songs, but it's not one of the better songs on the album. Young and Wasted, I think, has got an awesome groove to it. And I remember, when they would do this live, Eric Carr would actually sing this. Did a great job. Great song. Give Me More, a good, speedy, hard rock and Paul song. All Hell's Breaking Loose. Kisses one rap song, I guess you would say. More rapping type vocals in this. I love the guitar lick in it. 1,000,001, kind of a semi-ballady rocker that I always felt like was a good song. And could be used to express certain emotions about relationships or whatever. Fits Like a Glove was a concert staple of theirs for many tours after this. Great Gene song, fit his personality, his persona that he fit his persona that he turned to after he had to take the makeup off. It totally fit him. Dance All Over Your Face, another one kind of in that same vein. And then On the Eighth Day, I've always loved that song. This album, along with the first two for me, literally does not have a single skip on it. There's not a song on here where I go, I'm not listening to that. It's one of the few Kiss albums and one of the few albums, period, I'll listen to from back to front, and it does not miss a beat. Fantastic album. Number 3. Wow. Yeah. All right, moving along. Number 2 is Creatures of the Night. Now, I may get a little shit about this because in my Kiss guitarist ranked, I had Mr. Vinnie Vincent at number 3 or 4. It's my own list. I can't remember. He was not 1 or 2. And I apologize. I'm getting old. I can't remember if he was either 3 or 4. I believe I had him at 4. I think. And I got a lot of comments of, you're crazy, man. He was the best technical guitar player they've ever had, and he saved the band, and maybe. So I'll go with yes. He did. He's probably the greatest technical guitar player they ever had. Technically, he very well may be. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because you can get my thoughts on this in that video. But my point is, so I had him lower on that list, but I've got the 2 albums he was involved in almost completely in my top 3 Kiss albums. I get it. But regardless of all that, this album just punches you in the gut. And it is like the elixir they needed to get going again musically, and to kind of put the Dynasty Unmasked Elder era to bed. And thank God they did, and thank God they put this out. This is Creatures of the Night, one of my favorite Kiss songs of all time. It's fantastic live. I've heard I think 3 different versions of this band do this song, and they all nailed it. It's great. It's a fantastic song. Keep Me Coming. It's a pretty good song. Rock and Roll Hell, I think, is a really catchy Gene tune, which is kind of... Gene doesn't have a lot of really catchy tunes, but this is one of them. Danger, I love that song. Great Paul song. One of the best songs on the album, I think, with Creature of the Night. I Love It Loud speaks for itself. It's become a Kiss anthem over the years. You just can't deny its place in history. I Still Love You ballad I mentioned before, they really hadn't done much of one since Beth Wrong This. Before Reason to Live, they did do this, I Still Love You, which is, it's a very good song. Very kind of almost cryptic love song in a weird way. Very, very good. Love the way it's done. Killer, another really good song of Gene's. And then last but not least, War Machine, one of Gene's better songs. It's one that it's been a pretty decent staple, concert staple over the years. It definitely was from this album forward, during the non-makeup years. And then they brought it back when Eric and Tommy joined the band. And it's pretty much stayed in there with the exception of a couple tours that stayed in there. And it's a really good song. And then this album, I debated on the order of these two, Creatures and Lick It Up, because to me they're very, very close together. They're like this, kind of like Rock and Roll Over and Destroy You, really. They're really right there. But I think this album, just because of, once again, impact, and there's no skips on it, but because of impact, it really, it's one of those that I've got to put a little bit above, just because it kind of turned their career around, definitely musically, and gave them a new direction to go in, a new lease on life. And so for me, my top Kiss albums of all time, it's number 2. Which brings me to number 1. So if you've been having your pens and papers out and been writing down what I've been saying and using process elimination, you will guess that my all-time favorite, best Kiss album in the history of the world is dun, 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 Revenge. People. So I'm not in the minority on this with a lot of Kiss fans. But I am probably with some. Obviously the Die Hard, the original's the only Kiss and all this. But even some that don't go that far with it, I think I might be a little bit in the minority. But this album, man, just wow. So this came out. Eric Carr had passed away. I think they were working on some of this stuff when he passed. And I think they took his passing they kind of used it to refocus themselves, realign what they were doing, and just went in a direction. They stripped down their look to look like a metal. It was just that whole period of Kiss was great. I was never able to see this tour. I had tickets. Paul got sick. I was pissed. I got over it. I still get pissed occasionally about it. Anyway. But, the first track, Unholy, man. I remember hearing that for the first time. It's being blown away. And they haven't done much off this over the years. They've done Unholy a little bit. A couple times I got them to see them do it once. And they've done God Gave Rock and Roll to You a few times. I've seen them do that a couple times. You got Unholy, it goes into Take It Off, which is just a raucous rocker. Tough Love's a pretty good song. Spit's a good old Gene, sleazy kind of number and it's got a great groove to it. God Gave Rock and Roll to You, which is a semi-remake of an Argent song. It's a good song. It's probably my least favorite on the album, actually, but it's a really good song. Domino, another gritty, attitude-ish one from Gene. Heart of Chrome is a good song from Paul on here. But I'm going to tell you, this may be Gene's damn masterpiece, dude, because you've got Heart of Chrome and Thou Shalt Not, another attitude-fueled anthem from him about, you don't tell me how to live my life or what to do. This is mine. I'm going to do it my way. To hell with you. And then Every Time I Look at You, which, another ballad, but I think this is their best ballad of all time. I don't even think it's close. In my opinion, this song is fantastic. And if you listen to the unplugged version on MTV Unplugged, Paul's vocals. On the version on Revenge, his vocals are a little bit raspy, which is unlike him. I think it was all for effect of the feel for the song. On Unplugged, he uses his straight voice, and it's incredible. It's when his voice was at its best, I think, during that period. And that's a really good song. Gene, here we go again with him. Paralyzed. Another just gutsy, grungy, gritty, in-your-face attitude offering from him. Great song. I Just Wanna. Great rocker. Once again, Paul, he's just belting out these lyrics and showing his voice off. Love that song. It's absolutely freaking amazing. And then you got Car Jam 81, which is very cool. This was, and my story may be wrong on this, and if it is, y'all please correct me and put me in the right direction here, but if I'm not mistaken, Car Jam 81 was originally written by Eric Carr and Ace Frehley, either when they were doing The Elder or Creatures or whatever. Probably The Elder, because I don't think they said it did with Creatures, but when that part of the band was together, and it's got the dun 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 dun, which actually is a guitar lick in one of Ace's solo albums, Frehley's Comet, Breakout. Don't know if you knew that or not. Probably did, but it's a nice little gem there. So this goes back a long way. But the crux of this song is it shows off Eric's drumming in a way that I'm not sure anything else has. It's just absolutely amazing. His drumming is incredible, and this shows it. And it was a great end to this album, a great tribute to him. Very classy on their part, because they didn't have to put anything. I think it's Bruce playing the guitar parts over, probably, of Ace's stuff or whatever. But it's really good, and so it rounds out this. And this album, once again, no skips. This album is amazing to me. One of my favorite albums of all time, my favorite Kiss album of all time, and I think it's their best work that they ever did. It's just a shame that it was in a period for them that was, they were not very popular and was starting to go downhill a little bit, but, they put out some great music right there. So, there you have it. That is it. My top 10 Kiss albums of all time. I've basically, between this and the last episode, pretty much gone over their whole discography for the most part. And so, these two episodes are going to total about, I don't know, hour plus, maybe an hour and a half between the two of them. I could talk about Kiss songs and Kiss albums and Kiss stuff for days. You can ask my wife. I could absolutely just over and over and over again. I look forward to doing some more rankings of stuff about theirs and dissecting or whatever in future episodes. But this is what I've been wanting to put this out for a minute. I had a couple different ideas how I was going to do it, and then I thought about, well, let's just kind of keep it as simple as I can. I was going to use some music for it and some videos of theirs and everything, and then there's all this copyright YouTube stuff, and I'm like, they're so anal about that, it's not even worth it. So I'll just straight up just put the camera in front of me and, talk about them. Just talk about the albums and what they mean to me. So there you go, guys. So, let me know what you thought about, this list, the one before this, in the comments below. Get a conversation going with us and between y'all. I'd love to see that stuff. Always appreciate it. Always look forward to it. But before you comment, if you haven't already, like, subscribe, ring the notification bell so you know when new content comes out. And I look very forward to, seeing you guys very soon and doing another episode. I'm not sure yet what that's going to be. I got a couple ideas. What I will tell you is I was going to do a second part of the Kiss live movie thing. That has been put on the back burner. And so there'll be more details about that to come, but for right now, that's not happening, at least anytime soon. I don't think it could change, but as for right now, no. But anyway, more on that to come. That's a different. Yeah, I'll see y'all soon in the next video. And I'll sign off as I always do by saying, be good to each other, be good to yourselves, and life will be good to you. Peace.